The Maguuma is an intertwined, convolute mass of vegetation and animal life, and the desolate shores of the Fire Islands are an untouched wilderness uncolonised for centuries. There are creatures here that have survived, safe in these havens of jungle and tropical island where once they were free to roam across all of Tyria. They are the Saurians, and their prehistoric majesty evokes both terror and awe. From the twisted labyrinths of verdant brink, where packs of deadly pocket raptors stalk and tear apart their prey, to the luminescent vegetation of Auric Basin, where stoneheads patrol the narrow pathways besides the Golden City, Saurians have needed to adapt very little to survive. The mechanisms they have evolved are so strong that they have little reason to change. Very few creatures exist that can take on a Saurian and live. Some of the most majestic Saurians are also some of the largest. This Arrowhead lives a solitary life here in Auric Basin. Adults are simply too large to live in groups amongst the tangle of roots and trees. They walk on all four legs, slow and lumbering, and can weigh upwards of 14 doliacs. Arrowhead bodies are protected by bony plates and spikes. Their tails end in a club, complete with blade-like protrusions. They walk with their tails raised high from the floor, a display of strength that dissuades most enemies from approaching. Their faces are unusually shaped for both protection and social display. The bone frills along their jaws also serve to help the Saurian search the jungle floor for food. When threatened, they slam their heads and tails into the ground and create shockwaves that stun, or roll their great mass to crush their attacker. Arrowheads come together to lay their eggs in colonies on the jungle floor. They push soft earth into nests and lay between 5 and 10 eggs per clutch. Once laid, the eggs appear to be left alone by the adults. Once the hatchlings emerge, they pace between the eggs and keep watch for intruders. In Auric Basin, the meddling of skrit have driven some broodmothers to new heights of aggression. The skrit find Arrowhead eggs irresistible. They stalk the nests and steal the largest eggs for their feasts. In this stretch of the jungle, where so many nests are gathered, these rodents are playing with death at every turn. Bonebreakers forego the size and strength of their Saurian neighbours in favour of a different kind of defence. Their bodies are designed for attack. Their forelimbs are as long as their hind legs, with cutting blades along their forearms. The bonebreaker tucks them up under its body, wraps its long tail over its head, and rolls up into a ball, hurling themselves over their foes. It's difficult to attack back when they are in this state. The curved armour on their backs deflects blades or projectiles, and their speed as they roll makes them hard to pin down. Bonebreakers live alongside rolling devils. They are very similar, but have some key differences. The rolling devils are smaller, and are coloured in a kaleidoscope of orange hues. They live in packs, side by side to the bonebreakers, in a relationship that benefits them both. The bonebreakers gain extra pairs of eyes and sharp rows of teeth to help fight off intruders, and the rolling devils gain opportunities to hunt and consume much larger prey. On the Fire Island chain, there are great packs of these Saurians that bask in the bright sun, such as these all along the shores of Ember Bay. Attacks like those of the bonebreaker or rolling devil are eclipsed by the methods employed by one particular Saurian. These are smoke scales. Their small size is misleading. These creatures are tenacious and vicious. Their compact bodies are cocooned in flexible armour. Their strong limbs end in claws for slicing, and their heads are shielded by brightly coloured plates. The smoke scale's mane traps and releases a mist that acts very similar to a smokescreen. It can blind and disorient foes, and the Saurian uses this to mask its attack. Smoke scales can leap great distances, and any adventurer into the Maguuma must be wary of their presence. Other Saurians combine strength, size, and speed. Stonehead skulls are heavy, reinforced bone. They have lost the use of their front limbs in favour of powerful hind legs that propel them headfirst into their prey. Their leg muscles are so strong that they are able to flip themselves over onto their backs, smashing the ground with their tails. These are carnivores, fierce hunters that line their nests with the meat from their kills. They will attack anyone, human, char, or Mordrum. Yet another type of Saurian is the Bristleback. Of all Saurians, these creatures appear to have the strongest herding instinct of them all. Here in Auric Basin, there is a large herd of bristlebacks hidden in a chasm. They live relatively isolated from the jungle around them. The lush vegetation and plentiful fresh water means they want for nothing. Because of this, the adults grow to a truly great size. There are many young bristlebacks here too, some barely out of their eggs and some adolescent. Their herding behaviour evolved as a defence against outsiders and predators. By clustering together, the adults can share the responsibility of watching for threats. Bristlebacks can rear up on their hind legs to become taller, and in doing so can see further and spot enemies more easily. And the young learn to be as vigilant as their parents by mimicking their behaviour. As they grow up, these Saurians become more aggressive. If a bristleback decides they are threatened by an intruder, they shoot projectiles the size of shields to impale their foe. These projectiles are actually bony plates, similar to scales. The Saurians' backs have special cells under the skin where several sets of plates are grown. The regrowth of expelled projectiles takes a lot of energy, and some bristlebacks will only attack if especially threatened. Some Saurians elicit attention from scholars due to their involvement with Mordrum. In the tumultuous jungle, where Mordrumoth's forces still lurk, stone-head Saurians pace back and forth. They appear to patrol alongside the Mordrum guards, unchecked by the snipers and untouched by the soldiers. Their thick, armoured hides are cloaked in glittering, shimmering magic that looks eerily familiar. It's the result of a horrific process employed by the dragon to spawn compliant minions from the jungle. Saurians are stolen from their habitats and goaded into these blighting pods. Guarded by thorn-riddled vines and hulking Mordrum beasts, they are trapped. Slowly, the pod breaks their spirit and alters their bodies, infusing them with magic until they are reborn as puppets of the dragon. These pods can create infinite copies of creatures placed within them. To what extent these Mordrum Saurians are impacting the natural order of the Maguuma is as yet unknown. Stoneheads aren't the only Saurians who have been corrupted by the jungle dragon. There are Arrowheads, taken because of their imposing size and warped by the dragon into a ferocious monster. When Mordrumoth's forces assaulted the city of Tyria, these were the beasts that they sent to eradicate the resistance. The presence of these otherwise uninvolved giants in a fight of this scale really emphasises the lengths the Mordrum have gone to tip the balance of war in their favour. And yet, there are some Saurians that, if tamed young enough, can become allies to rangers. Bristleback and smokescale juveniles in particular have the capacity to form strong attachments to their trainers, and will fight and protect them from the hazards of the jungle. They use the same methods of attack as their parents, but with the tenacity and intelligence bred into them through training. Ultimately, the Saurians that live in the jungle or stalk in the heat of the Fire Islands are relics of an older time. Their habitat may dwindle, but the methods they employ to survive will perhaps never change. Though some may be trapped, game pieces in a fight they have no stake in, others' tenacious presence doesn't falter.